It all starts in a first-person MMORPG called Wasteland Survival inside the Silent City. The game blew up right after it launched, drawing in a ton of players from all over the world to play online. The game's story is that the world was destroyed and now there are new humans with special powers. These new humans formed an alliance and are now fighting to reclaim the planet. Their mission is simple and direct: wipe out all the mutant monsters that have taken over the surface. Over time, players get stronger and get tired of just fighting the weaker monsters. Because of that, the company launched a massive event called the Apocalyptic Abyss, which called in all the top players. The Abyss has multiple areas, but nobody knows how many, and the enemies there are absurdly strong. One of the tank players is all hyped up, saying this is the final dungeon and that he could do this all day. But all that excitement doesn't last long, because even the best players struggle just to make it through the first hour. So the girl warns the group to be careful because the new boss is super weird and might even be controlled by someone. After grinding a ton in the city, the players have gotten more powerful and are close to conquering the area. Out of nowhere, a giant monster appears and attacks the group, sending everyone flying. The tank gets hit head-on by one of the creatures, but it turns out this thing is just the boss's pet. That's because the real monster is a giant three-headed dog that showed up to crash the party. Then the true boss of the stage appears, and his name is Tang Fan, the commander of the Mutant Legion. Without wasting any time, the guy gets ready to attack and says that since they're his guests, he's going to take everyone out. And with a single swing, the guy simply wipes the map, finishing off all the players at once. Full of swagger, Tang Fan boasts and asks if there's anyone brave enough to take him on. Suddenly, two girls appear and one of them questions his attack, but he couldn't care less about what they have to say. And it doesn't stop there, because another woman shows up, and she's the queen of the insect tribe. The queen says that all players must be eliminated and starts spouting a bunch of nonsense. At that moment, a little girl on top of the three-headed dog suggests they grab a bite before continuing. Tang Fan steps on the players' bodies and says he'd rather eat the players than actual food. So the group decides to invade the enemy base since all the strongest players are gathered there. Seeing all this, Tang Fan wonders if maybe he isn't a monster and the villain of this whole story. The scene cuts, and we go back in time to when he was just a regular student with nothing special about him. In the past, our guy used to get beat up at school, and some guys were trying to shake him down for money. The bully stares down our main character, who doesn't even flinch at the threat and just stands there. This makes the aggressor furious, and he asks if the guy wants to get beat up some more. The bully is confused, wondering who would be crazy enough to threaten someone in broad daylight. Just then, two women show up, and one of them warns that if they don't let her student go, things are going to get ugly. One of the bully's friends warns him that the blonde is a club leader and the other is from the student council. Scared, the bully tells everyone to run and tells our MC to take good care of his little saviors. The woman then teases the guy, asking if he can't even handle a few wimps like them. One of the girls gets annoyed, thinking that the guy just doesn't want to fight so he won't have to pay their hospital bills later. The young man smiles and tells the woman to chill, that he knows how to handle himself, and asks what they want with him. The brunette says she was talking with the other girl when a bunch of trash showed up to interrupt. At that moment, a pink-haired girl runs up to the MC and asks if he's hurt. The blonde complains in her head that the pink-haired girl asked for help but showed up late. The guy thanks her for her concern and gives her a gentle pat on the head, asking if she was the one who called for help. The girl gets all flustered by the affection and thinks it would be great to always have her upperclassmen around. But on the inside, the girl is fuming at the bullies and thinking of ways to get revenge on them. The guy smiles and says everything's fine and nothing happened, thanking the girl once again. She then remembers they're friends and that once he gets the money for his dad, they'll beat Wasteland Survival together. The brunette offers to pay for his dad's treatment, but the pink-haired girl says the final stage of the game is impossible without him. The MC gets excited and says he's going to get a part-time gig to train his body and save up some cash. As the boy runs off, the brunette yells that she's not done talking and that she'll get the money for the surgery. The blonde then teases her friend, asking if she wants the guy to marry her in exchange for the help. The brunette gets flustered and explains she's just worried about him and that his character might be weak, but his skills are on another level. She thinks that if the MC stays on the team, they'll eventually be able to clear the game's final dungeon. That's because the guy known as Ghost is simply the #1 player on the entire server. The blonde comments that this player has become a legend, but she has a feeling that our MC is even stronger than him. The brunette gets excited and invites the group to grab some food and then go back to grinding in the dungeon while they wait for him. At night, the MC's father says over the phone that he doesn't want the surgery because it's too expensive with no guarantee it'll work. The son then calms his mom down and says he's about to get his paycheck, and with his savings they can already pay for half the surgery. His father had an accident and the compensation they received wasn't enough to cover all the expenses. Because of that, the young man had to study and work to save up money, and now he finally has half the amount. He thinks that after paying his share tomorrow, he'll finally be able to breathe a little easier. It's been almost half a year since he last played with his friends, so the guy decides to log into the game to check things out. The game asks him to confirm if he wants to log in with his alt character, the level 25 Brave Warrior. The guy thinks it would be weird to log in with that account after refusing his friend's help. So he decides to log into his main account, Ghost, which he hasn't used in a long time, just to take a look. The game confirms his choice, and the MC's level 99 character enters the virtual world. In the game, Ghost appears on top of a building, looking over the city and reminiscing about the past. Ever since the accident, he hasn't logged into the game and has no idea how things are now. His character is level 99 with 999 strength and speed stats. His main account is the top player on the server, and his ult is just to chill with his friends. He used to play alone, but after joining his friend's guild, he created this secondary account. He thinks that if his friends knew he was Ghost, they would definitely kick him from the guild. Suddenly, a message pops up and the guy wonders who would send him something after being offline for so long. The message is a welcome back event for returning players with a challenge worth a lot of gold. The MC gets suspicious and thinks it might be a prank or some kind of scam. But if the reward is real, he'll get the money for his dad's surgery, and everything will be solved. He thinks it's just a game and it won't hurt to try, since if he wins, it'll be great for him. And with not much to lose, the guy accepts the challenge, even though he's skeptical about the promised reward. But out of nowhere, a weird energy surrounds his character, and he has no idea what's going on. At that moment, the MC's real body starts to be digitized and pulled into the game world. He's then teleported to a weird dark place that looks straight out of a horror movie. Completely lost, the guy looks around and wonders where he ended up and how he got there. The young man is startled when he looks at his own hand and feels that everything around him seems way too real. He starts to think that maybe this isn't a game anymore, and that somehow he ended up in the virtual world. A cold sweat runs down his face when the boy realizes his eyes are now a different color. In a panic, he discovers that he's turned into a zombie kid and screams, not understanding the transformation. Then, a system window pops up thanking him for accepting the game's final secret challenge. The message explains that the mutant races are in danger and desperately need his help. The system confirms he has become a zombie, and the guy realizes that the mutants are the villains. A scene from the future shows the little zombie facing a giant and very scary creature. The system then gives him his first mission, defeat a giant tyrant, and the boy even spits up some blood. This monster is a huge level 32 creature, and seems much stronger than the little zombie. The MC gets ticked off, complaining that tyrants are all level 30 and up, and that this is a suicide mission. But the system explains that the mutants he defeats revive in 24 hours, and only players can finish them off for good. The zombie questions if the monster won't want revenge, but the system says the more it gets beat up, the more it will respect him. The mission is dangerous, but it has a good reward, and if he refuses, the system will delete him for good. The guy gives a little smile and understands that he's being forced to participate in this crazy game. He then remembers his sick father in the hospital and knows he needs the reward money for the surgery. After all, he was a level 99 player, and now he has a chance to play on the monster side. With a confident smile, the boy says a challenge like this is a lot of fun, and accepts the mission. The system wishes him good luck, and the zombie gets annoyed for being dumped in a random spot with no map. He remembers logging in at night when more people are online, but there's no sign of any players nearby. The MC deduces that it's either a very weak or a very strong place for anyone to have reached yet. The presence of a strong tyrant indicates that he's in a difficult dungeon, probably the apocalyptic abyss. And for sure, the strongest tyrants must be wandering around near the entrance of this dangerous area. The apocalyptic abyss is the most hardcore dungeon in the entire game, with the highest difficulty level. The place used to be a survivor bunker, but after a war, everything was destroyed and it turned into this. So, the remaining survivors left the place, and the mutant monsters took over everything. The boy thinks that only the strongest survive here, so anyone left behind must be a monster. The strongest tyrants stay at the entrance of the apocalyptic abyss, which is also known as the Silent City. That's why the mutants at the entrance are much stronger and players struggle to get through even in a group. Remembering his experience, the guy knows that high-level tyrants stick to specific locations. He picks up a pot lid from the ground to use as a weapon and shield and continues walking cautiously. The MC remembers fighting here with his main character, who is ridiculously strong and OP. But now he's just a wimpy little zombie and needs to hunt a tyrant, which makes him pretty worried. Out of nowhere, a giant shadow appears and starts barking loudly in his direction. It's the mouth of a huge drooling creature full of teeth, ready to attack the boy. The zombie realizes he can't escape, so it looks like he'll have to face the thing head-on. Suddenly, another creature appears and stomps on the ground, shattering everything around it. And from the ground emerges a mutant with sharp claws and a very sinister smile on her face. The creature is a level 55 tyrant with 288 strength and 39 speed. The tyrant glares at another creature with a deadly look, seeming ready for the fight to come. With a furious roar, the mutant shows her fangs and prepares to attack without a second thought. Out of nowhere, another creature appears. It's a level 42 lurker with 234 strength. The zombie notices that both monsters are new types, and the tyrant is the exact target of his mission. He remembers that in the game, tyrants were just programmed AIs, but now they are living beings that actively hunt. The tyrant attacks the lurker without mercy, showing she's much more dangerous than the boy imagined. the lurker is hit head-on, and the zombie thinks about using their fight to his advantage in the mission. Without giving the other a chance, the redhead finishes the fight, putting an end to her opponent right there. With the creature's defeat, the boy gets a new item, a very stylish cyber mini-bike. So the MC hops on the little bike and yells for the tyrant to come get some. The mutant becomes furious with the taunt and lets out a deafening roar of pure rage in his direction. Now the chase begins, and the zombie notices that the tyrant went even more berserk after the provocation. The creature is sticking to him like glue, and the boy complains that even with the bike, the speed advantage is pretty small. But the zombie reveals that this was the plan all along, and he just needs to lead her to a safe spot. The tyrant steps on a specific spot on the ground and ends up activating a hidden trap. The ground starts to crumble, and the creature realizes she's fallen into a very dangerous blood trap. Then, the redhead plummets into a deep hole, and the zombie yells for her to enjoy the free fall. The boy explains that the abyss is full of deadly traps hidden all over the place. He remembers falling into these traps several times, and now it's the mutant's turn to get a taste of it. The trap is actually a nest of venomous wasps in the Silent City that paralyze their victims. The tyrant is now surrounded by hundreds of these gigantic wasps ready to attack. Each wasp is level 45 with 120 strength, and a venom that paralyzes and delivers a shock. The boy comments that if the tyrant wasn't so brainless, he never would have been able to lead her here. The swarm attacks without mercy, and the redhead is stung and paralyzed by the insect's venom. The MC thinks that his zombie speed and the mini-bike were essential for guiding her. Now standing at the edge of the pit, the zombie seems very confident in his crazy plan. He knows the tyrant is very resilient and the trap won't be able to finish her off for good. To recover, the mutant simply starts devouring the wasps around her. She uses her powers to fight back, and the boy predicts she'll escape as soon as the venom wears off. With only 100 health left, the redhead is loaded with debuffs, and the zombie thinks this is the right time. The boy then whistles and thinks the next step is to release the hounds. A pack of monstrous dogs appears out of nowhere, running and barking towards the pit. The MC rides on top of one of the dogs, ready to attack the weakened mutant. With a powerful blow, he and the dog strike the tyrant head-on, dealing 99 damage. The tyrant is done for, with just 1 health point left to tell the tale. Riding the dog, the zombie says that now is the time to deliver the finishing blow and end this. He jumps off the dog with the pot lid in hand, ready for the decisive attack on the creature. With all his strength, the boy smacks the mutant's head with his makeshift weapon. A system window appears, confirming that the target was successfully defeated by the attack. The MC thanks the dog and says that from now on they'll help each other out in this game they're in. He remembers that in the game, zombie kids and zombie dogs are natural friends. And luckily, this time he turned into a zombie and was able to join the pack of dogs. The boy hugs the dog and thinks that without its help, he never would have won the fight. Suddenly, a bright light appears, and both the zombie and the dog start to level up. The system announces that the mission reward has been delivered, and congratulates him on the victory. The boy evolves into a zombie child, and his stats increase, along with a new ability. The new ability is called Ideological Transformation, and he tests the power on his arms. As a reward, the guy gets a weird item and 5,000 gold, which is worth real money. On top of that, the tyrant is now 100% loyal to him and will obey all his commands. The zombie is a little weirded out by the idea of the mutant obeying him, but what really matters is the cash he just scored. The system explains the gold conversion, and the guy calculates that with 1 tyrant, he can already get the money for the surgery. Then a new system window appears, saying that base construction is the reward for the next phase. The message announces that the mission was a success, and because of it, a secret base called the City of Hope has been unlocked. At that moment, the boy and his dog are sucked into a data portal and teleported somewhere else. They land with a thud in a completely new place, covered in snow and building debris. A little dizzy, the zombie gets up and complains that the game just threw him there without any warning. But suddenly, he stops and looks around with a surprised expression on his face. Before them is a futuristic city in ruins, and the guy wonders if this is the legendary City of Hope. The system explains that the game's story is very complex, and the City of Hope is one of its greatest legends. The legend says that survivors built the city underground to research a cure for the genetic mutation. But just as the cure was almost ready, a war broke out, and almost no one survived the conflict. Over time, the city became the stuff of legend, and its bunkers turned into monster nests, creating the apocalyptic Abyss Dungeon. Years later, humans returned to the surface and created a new city called New Eden, which is the player's base. The zombie thinks the city was inaccessible, and the system explains it became a protected area that opens up through missions. The system explains that now the zombie needs to rebuild the city by doing missions and collecting materials. Over time, the place can become a refuge for all the survivors of that destroyed world. And a message announces that the final reward for the last mission is here, and it hopes he likes it. The dogs follow a scent, and the boy thinks the system is just trying to build suspense about the prize. Suddenly, the guy stops and his jaw drops, not believing what he's seeing in front of him. Inside a flooded laboratory, there's a girl floating in some kind of glass tank. The zombie is in shock and wonders if the prize for becoming a zombie is getting a girlfriend too. All flustered, he complains that this game system is totally shameless. Meanwhile, At Yue's house, she's getting out of the shower, all calm and relaxed. After drying off, the girl thinks about her life and what happened earlier with her friend. Then she enters her room and throws herself onto the bed to rest a bit after a long day. Her room is a total mess, full of chip bags, and she stares at the ceiling, lost in thought. On her desk, there's a photo of the whole group, and next to it, her virtual reality headset. Without a second thought, the girl grabs the device and gets ready to enter the game world. Her character is level 24 with 100 strength and 18 speed in her stats. She logs into the game and appears in a futuristic city full of other players walking around. The girl goes to a restaurant called Buff's Buffet to meet her friends who are there. Inside, she feels a pang of nostalgia and thinks it would be nice if her friend were there with them. At the table, all her game friends are eating and getting ready to head to the next dungeon. She looks at the food and imagines her friend would be drooling if he saw those delicious dishes. Suddenly, a message appears on the restaurant window, offering a new game experience. The message asks if she wants a real gastronomic experience, and the girl gets very curious. And this experience is actually our MC in his secret base, controlling everything from there. The zombie analyzes his 4 friends and comes to the conclusion that there's one who's way easier to trick. He thinks that out of the 4 companions, Yue is the purest and easiest to lead into a trap. And to understand why, we need to go back 10 minutes in time to explain it better. Back at the lab, the boy asks the system how he should use his reward. The system explains that the zombie girl has no consciousness of her own and needs a player to control her. To do this, the MC can use the base's supercomputer to invite someone to his side. The system then gives a new mission: invite a player to join the Mutant Legion. The guy gets furious and says he can't just trick people to get the money for his dad. But the system assures him that after the mission, everyone will return to normal as if nothing ever happened. With a smile, the boy understands that the system is more decent than he initially thought. And the system even says there's another special reward just for him if he completes the mission. If he and the zombie girl reach the max level, they can build an army of survivors. The MC gets a nosebleed and tells it to cut the chatter, or the story won't move forward. He thinks about what to do to convince his friend and decides to use food and money as bait. And what do you know? It works. The girl accepts the invitation, and the system announces that the zombie has been activated. Then the player's consciousness starts connecting with the body of the zombie that was in the tank. She then steps onto the lab floor, feeling out her new body for the first time in the game. The girl finds the sensation strange and says this new game feels just like the real world. It's so perfect. The MC welcomes the new mutant with a smirk right to her face. The player is shocked to realize she's turned into a zombie and a mutant on the villain's side. Not understanding a thing, the girl leaps towards the guy, ready to attack with everything she's got. Without a second thought, the new zombie charges at the guy with a very fast attack. But the guy dodges with a jump, and she ends up missing the strike by a hair's breadth on the floor. The girl lands on the ground and prepares to attack again without giving him any breathing room. She's impressed by her opponent's speed and can barely keep up with his movements, but she doesn't give up and prepares a new attack with energy gathered in her hands. The MC waits for the attack and shows his claws ready to counter her blow. He then uses his transformation ability and creates a shield right on his arm. With the shield, the guy blocks the zombie's attack without any apparent difficulty. The girl is thrown back by the impact and is surprised by the strength of the guy's defense. The system explains that the ability allows transforming body parts using concentration and willpower. The MC finds the ability interesting and wonders if he can also create weapons with it. He then transforms his arms into claws and uses a burst of speed to dash towards her. After recovering, the zombie gets to her feet and realizes her arms have also transformed. The girl runs to a glass tank and is terrified to see her zombie reflection on the surface. The guy then welcomes the new mutant and she is left completely speechless. With a smile, he explains that this is the legendary City of Hope, and now it's their base. The guy explains all the rules and the situation of the mutants to the girl, who is shocked by everything. He even promises food and shelter if she joins the Legion, and the zombie accepts without a second thought. As a reward, the MC gets 2,000 gold and some very suspicious-looking outfits for the girl. The new mission is to make the zombie wear the new clothes he just got as a gift. The guy gets ticked off at the system but thinks he needs to do this to make the girl stronger. The boy then hands one of the outfits to the girl and asks her to put it on so they can get stronger. She accepts without question and takes the package with the clothes to try on the new look. The MC is surprised by how easy it was and thinks she really is easy to manipulate. Wearing the uniform, the zombie feels her power increasing, and her stats go up instantly. The guy celebrates and says that now the future of the mutants is in the hands of his new partner. The mission is completed, but the reward is only 5 gold, and the boy is pretty ticked off. The zombie stares at the guy and thinks that this NPC is super realistic and seems to have feelings. Suddenly, her stomach rumbles, and the guy realizes his friend is hungry at that moment. He takes out the tyrant tentacle skewer and offers her some to eat. The girl's mouth waters and she wonders if the game's food is really that good. Without ceremony, the MC hands her the skewer, and she takes it to satisfy her hunger. She thanks him and starts to wolf down the tentacle, eating like she hasn't eaten in days. The guy is happy and thinks that at least zombies' taste buds still work properly. Suddenly, the zombie's expression changes, and she stops eating immediately with a serious look. Out of nowhere, 2 red claws sprout from her back, and the guy has no idea what just happened. The system announces that the girl evolved into an adolescent zombie after eating the skewer. Now she's level 15 with 90 strength and has gained a new attack ability. The zombie is confused by the transformation, and the MC seems very interested in what happened. He wonders if all zombies can absorb abilities by eating special foods. The system explains that evolution through food is slow, but since they ate the reward, the process was accelerated. The boy gets jealous and thinks he should have tried a piece before giving it to her. As a reward for the evolution, the MC gets a mystery box and a new mission to do. Even though they're hungry, they decide to go after the new mission to earn more money and food. A day later, they arrive in a ruined city surrounded by a giant forest. This place is the border between the Forest of Thorns and the mutants' Silent City. In the apocalyptic abyss, zombies are the weakest race and can only survive on the frontier. That's why the zombie den is in the south of the city, and the forest is full of zombie animals. But since the creatures rarely enter the city, the place is relatively safe for them. Now infiltrating the zombie tribe, the guy and the girl try to blend in with the crowd. The MC notices that the zombies here are very different from the ones he used to fight in the game. One of the zombies yells for everyone to line up for food before it all runs out. The MC notes that the zombies in the game only teamed up to hunt and were pretty dumb. But the zombies here are intelligent and have a pretty strict organizational system among them. They hunt in the forest in organized groups, and those who don't hunt don't get to eat. The boy is shocked to see that they even enslave human women to feed the zombies. A mad scientist appears with a syringe in her hand and a sinister smile on her face. The MC is called over, and one of the women offers him a baby bottle to drink. Confused, he takes the bottle and starts drinking the liquid inside. Suddenly, his brain gets a jolt, and he feels his intelligence has greatly increased. A female zombie appears and grabs the guy by the collar with a very furious look. The zombie panics, wondering if he's been discovered as an infiltrator among them. But the female zombie just complains that he's an adolescent zombie and is in the wrong line for food. The guy lets out a sigh of relief and thinks the female zombie must be someone important in the tribe. The girl gets excited and calls for the other zombies to go get more food in the forest. Suddenly, the door of one of the buildings opens and someone announces that the leader has returned. All the zombies bow in respect as the gate opens, revealing the figure of the leader. Riding a giant monster, the leader of the zombies emerges with an air of superiority and power. Our boy asks the system why he can't see the info on the new zombies that just showed up. The system explains that he can only see the stats of monsters from the game or those he personally invited. He gets that this world is different, and with evolved zombies, they actually have a fighting chance against the humans. The MC notices the female zombies aren't weaklings, and on top of that, they've got some weird numbers marked on their bodies. The info screen pops up, revealing they are the result of genetic experiments from the City of Hope. The lab's objective was to create a cure for the mutations and reverse the effects on the infected. This way, the mutated humans could be saved and the non-mutated ones would be free from any threats. But of course, the research went sideways, and after injecting a serum, the zombies became even more violent. The researchers figured the male zombies were the problem, so they shifted their focus to the females. To keep track of each test subject, the scientists started numbering all the specimens. The experiments on the female zombies were brutal. They extracted materials and injected toxins. They even performed horrific procedures on them while they were still alive to advance their research. The scientists ran all sorts of terrible tests on the bodies of those poor souls. They even did some Frankenstein stuff, stitching zombies together with other monster species. In the end, the research was a bust, but they accidentally created a super serum. The humans who got the serum became immune to the virus and were way stronger and faster. With this new power, humanity decided they didn't need to save the mutants anymore, they just needed to defeat them. And so the new humans were born. An elite army equipped with the most advanced combat technology. The first wave of new humans started hunting more mutants to create even more super serum. With that, the mission changed from saving the infected to simply hunting every last one of them down. The ultimate plan was to wipe out all the mutants and build a new world from scratch called New Eden. But the first female zombie to receive the serum had already started to change in a very unexpected way. Test subject So was the first to evolve, and she remembered everything the humans had done to her. Fear and anger triggered a genetic explosion inside her, causing her genes to evolve dramatically. In a fit of rage, the zombie just snapped, unleashing a monstrous and terrifying power. In this state of fury, So led other female zombies to escape the lab, and they evolved too. The lab's humans panicked when they saw the zombies had suddenly become intelligent. Responding to an emergency signal, the new humans rushed to the lab to provide backup. For the new humans, it was easy to take down the regular zombies that had just evolved there, but against a zombie like Sue, it was a whole different and much more complicated story. The new humans were no match for her, and were defeated without much of a struggle. With victory in hand, Suwa yelled out, ordering that no new human should escape alive. With a heart full of hatred, So led the zombies and completely destroyed the City of Hope. As they retreated, the humans activated their defense protocol and tried to blow up the city with the mutants inside. Since then, So has never been seen again, and the Abyss zombies are likely the survivors. The protagonist thinks this whole human scandal is a lot different from the game's story. He realizes that in the game, zombies didn't evolve, but here, they have infinite potential. The zombie leader notices the boy's presence and finds the sinister smile on his face strange. She asks if he's a human spy and wonders if she should pop his eyes out just to be sure. Suddenly, she senses another person's presence and turns to see who's approaching. The leader looks at the girl and feels like she's seen her somewhere before but can't quite place it. She then compliments our boy for protecting his companion and for managing to evolve an ability. The zombie who fought the protagonist earlier shows up and the leader praises her for a job well done. The zombie says the young one's intelligence and skills have improved a lot with the new method. The zombie leader tells the other to arrange the next survival training for the younger ones. The protagonist thinks to himself that he knew the leader wouldn't be a pushover, so he told his friend to be on standby. He realizes that in this mutant clan, a female leader has even more respect for those who are skilled. The survival training is basically just dumping the young zombies in the forest for a month. Our boy gets it. The group doesn't want to waste resources on anyone who can't fend for themselves. But he remembers that the beasts in the forest are ridiculously strong, and surviving there is almost impossible. The other zombie suggests training the young ones first, but the leader doesn't seem to like that idea. The zombie leader asks if the other one is trying to tell her how to do her job. She explains that it's only a matter of time before the new humans return, and the mutants need to get stronger. Meanwhile, somewhere else, a woman is being interrogated by humans with electric shocks. One of the new humans uses an eye ability to try and see through the zombies' defenses. He complains that the zombies are too smart and the captured doctor was completely useless. A woman sitting on a throne says the zombies have evolved quickly and need to be investigated. Our boy gets furious and readies his weapon to attack the woman who's looking down on him. But she blocks the attack with her sword and asks if the leader of the Phantom Eyes is getting a little testy. She then stands up and says that since they've awakened her genetic evolution, they might as well have a little fun. Suddenly, a metal fist slams the table, asking if the two of them are done yet. This guy is the Iron Man, former level 39, the leader of Iron Science. He warns them that everyone paid a high price to be there, and if they don't team up, they'll all be eliminated. And another character is introduced as the Rebel, level 99, the commander. The guy in the golden armor agrees with what the Iron Man just said. The group of leaders gets together and talks about completely conquering this new world. Sitting on a throne, the man in the golden armor says that's the reason they're all there. Meanwhile, the protagonist and the girl are hiding in the forest watching everything. The protagonist notices that the prisoner is also a player and is using a vision skill. But the zombies have gotten smarter and simply blindfolded the prisoner. He finds it strange that the player is pregnant and wonders why she doesn't just log out. With a smirk, he thinks that if his hunch is right, this person could be very useful. After the leader leaves, the zombies are split up, and it looks like the free meal plan is over. The zombie congratulates those who qualified and explains the rules of the survival training. The training will last for 1 month in the Thorn Forest, and the priority is to survive by hiding. If they need to hunt, it's better to do it in small groups so they don't become an easy target. The deeper into the forest, the stronger the monsters get, so it's best to start at the edge. With a serious look, the zombie gives one last warning: never go to the center of the forest. The boy complains that they only explained the rules and didn't teach them any survival skills. The other zombie confirms that in the last training, only 1 out of every 12 made it through the challenge. He then approaches and asks if they aren't exactly close to each other. The zombie introduces himself as Lee Baba and says that before becoming a zombie, he trained in martial arts. He says he noticed our boy and the girl came from outside and wants to join them because of it. The protagonist thinks that more people mean more mouths to feed, which could slow them down. Lee Baba understands his concern and reveals that he also has a secret special ability. He shows his hands and says he's awakened a power that could be useful to the group. The boy thinks that with Lee Baba on the team, their balance of offense and defense will improve. He then accepts the new member and the two shake hands, sealing their new partnership. Lee Baba starts trying to make small talk, but the zombie says names don't matter. What matters is surviving. The new member won't stop talking and our boy threatens to shut him up permanently if he doesn't zip it. The protagonist wonders if the guy just wanted someone to talk to out in the middle of the forest. The system congratulates him for making a friend and gives him 250 gold as a reward. The zombie is surprised by the unexpected reward and decides to accept his fate of having a friend. In Area 1 of the forest, a group of zombies is scared of the place, which looks pretty creepy. The group's leader boasts that with him around there's nothing to fear and that they're safe. Suddenly, a giant frog appears and attacks the group with its huge sticky tongue. The monster just devours all the zombies in one go, leaving no one to escape. The group hides in the bushes and the protagonist remembers that the most dangerous creatures hunt at the edges. That's why the weaker zombies who think the edge is safe end up as monster food. And after they get eaten, there's not even a crumb left to tell the tale of what happened. Area 1 of the forest is where the beasts feed and it's a place full of ambushes. Area 2 is the nesting zone, and any intruder is hunted down without mercy by the creatures. The girl ends up stealing a snake egg, and now the whole group has to run for their lives. They then hide in Area 3, which is safer because the giant monsters avoid the place. These giant monsters are led by the legendary Thorn King, who's the big boss of the forest. The group climbs a tree to get some fruit, and our boy thinks that not even his main account ever saw that thing. Area 3 is calmer and only has small monsters, so they take the chance to rest a bit. After their break, Lee Baba starts hunting and takes on a giant mutant rat bare-handed. The girl also shows off her skills, attacking a mutant piranha with her red claws, and the protagonist uses his transformation to fight a really bizarre mutant porcupine. The system announces they've earned 1,000 gold coins for their victory against the 3 monsters. Besides the cash, they get some food recipes, and the guy's ability gains a new attribute. After warming up, the group sets off to hunt bigger and more dangerous monsters in the forest. With good teamwork, they manage to attack a giant ape bear with full force, and with one last coordinated strike, the group finally manages to defeat the giant mutant beast. The system announces they've earned 600 gold and that the guy's ability has evolved again. The group kept hunting until sunset, and since nighttime is dangerous, they decided to stop. Lee Baba compliments the protagonist's cooking skills and asks how he learned to cook. Our boy plays it coy, and his friend finishes the sentence saying he's just insane and full of surprises. After eating, the girl evolves again, and her tentacles become even more terrifying. Lee Baba also evolves after eating, and his arms get beefier and more powerful. He tests his new power and manages to destroy a giant rock with a single punch. In the cave, the zombie feels his own power has also increased, and that he's stronger than before. He checks his stats and notices that his level and stat numbers have disappeared from the screen. The system explains that levels and stats were just part of the game, and now he's adapting to the world. This world isn't governed by numbers, and those metrics no longer have any meaning for him. The protagonist understands that he's now free to evolve without limits, and his abilities are what truly matter. He's already tested the Thorn attribute and now wants to test the others he recently gained, and he wonders about elasticity. Our boy then uses his ability and creates elastic arms to defend himself from the creature's attack. The system gives him a new quest: defeat a flaming mutant tiger before sunrise. He wonders about the elasticity. He complains to the system but decides to take down the tiger to test his new skills in a real fight. With his new elastic arms, the protagonist swings through the trees of the dark forest. Arriving at his destination, he lands on the ground and prepares for combat. He remembers encountering the tiger before and avoiding the fight to complete the mission. Out of nowhere, a giant fireball appears in the darkness. The tiger is gigantic, and our boy notices it's at least twice as big as before. The zombie attacks the beast but realizes its speed and strength are much greater now. He dodges the attacks and prepares to counter the giant creature's aggression. With his transformed arms, the boy attacks the tiger, but his blow is easily blocked. He complains that the creature's hide is too thick and his claws can't pierce it. So the protagonist decides to try a new move with his transformation ability. He uses gigantification and creates a giant sword and shield to face the beast. The two face off, ready for the next round of the intense battle. With a powerful strike, the guy hits the tiger head-on, causing an explosion on the spot. The impact of the explosion sends our boy flying, and he falls to the ground badly injured. He protects himself with his transformed arms as the smoke from the explosion rises into the air. But the zombie gets back up and realizes his giant sword attack worked. The tiger roars in pain, and our boy celebrates that his plan worked and he injured the creature. But the tiger regenerates and becomes even more furious, showing its sharp claws. With its body engulfed in flames, the mutant beast prepares to attack with all its power. The protagonist despairs, thinking this might be the end of the line for him in this battle. Suddenly, he remembers he still has one last trick up his sleeve to use against the beast. He focuses his energy and prepares to use his elasticity ability in combat. Our boy then transforms his arms into a giant spring and compresses himself for the attack. The spring releases and the zombie shoots forward like a bullet toward the tiger with full force. With his spinning attack, he hits the beast dead on and finally manages to defeat it. The system congratulates him on the victory and awards him 3,000 gold and 2 mystery boxes. Now the guy has 18,000 gold, and his ability has gained the flame attribute. After the battle, the protagonist is exhausted and can barely stay on his feet. He breathes a sigh of relief and celebrates finally completing the system's mission. Suddenly, the ground starts to shake, and rocks fall from the ceiling of the dark cave. A giant claw appears and smashes through one of the walls, revealing a new enemy. 3 gigantic tigers emerge and ask who the zombie was that defeated their little cub. The protagonist realizes the noise attracted the whole family, and now things have gotten really ugly. One of the tigers attacks with a beam of fire to avenge the death of its dear relative. The bigger tiger tries to absorb the attack to protect itself but ends up getting hit head-on. One of the other tigers yells that it will save its companion and lunges at the attacker. The attacked tiger is completely confused, wondering why it was just attacked by its own ally. The battle between the tigers begins, and the entire cave turns into a chaotic war zone. Our boy hides in the shadows, wondering if more tigers are coming to the party. He thinks that if it weren't for the mission, he'd hate to burn through so much valuable gold. The fight continues, with the tigers using their fire and lightning powers to attack each other. Our boy takes advantage of the brawl to escape and hides behind a rock to watch. The battle between the lightning tiger and the ice tiger is intense and full of explosions. The rock he was hiding behind shatters, and the protagonist is thrown into the air by the impact. The ice tiger charges forward, and the two face off, ready for another direct confrontation. They're confused and wonder what's going on there in that cave. Hiding, the zombie says that right on time, the stew started to boil, and it was just missing 2 pieces of meat. With the distraction, the protagonist manages to defeat the tigers, and the cave erupts in flames. The system announces that he's earned 10,000 gold and the crown of the Tiger King. Now the guy has 28,000 gold, and his ability has gained 3 more attributes. 1 month later, in the forest, the female zombie is worried about the young one's training. The other groups are in the trees. The white-haired zombie wonders if any of the zombies managed to survive the forest challenge. The zombie leader says she had hoped for the 2 newcomers, but it seems she was mistaken. For a moment she thinks she saw the girl's shadow, but figures it was just her imagination. Suddenly, the one who was sleeping wakes up and senses a presence coming from deep within the dark forest. She wonders if the presence is a zombie, but finds it hard to believe anyone could have such a strong aura. The zombie gets scared as she feels the presence of a whole herd of beasts coming her way. With a terrified look, she realizes the presence is so strong it's paralyzing her with fear. The zombie leader notices her companion's nervousness and wonders what could be so frightening. She knows her friend has keen senses, and is usually very calm and collected in any situation. One of the zombies screams and points to a strange movement coming from the middle of the dark forest. A trail of blue light cuts through the sky, rapidly approaching where they are. Suddenly, a herd of giant beasts led by a thorn dragon emerges from the forest. The muscular zombie recognizes the monster and wonders why the Thorn King is leading an attack, but the zombie leader smiles and explains that they are just escorting their new king back home. On top of the dragon are the protagonists, the girl and Baba, leaving the other zombies speechless. The guy, now with a new look and dragon parts, faces everyone with a very confident gaze. The leader then comments that she thought the zombie was just a rookie, but he surprised everyone there. She gets excited about the group's potential and says she's looking forward to seeing what the new leader can do. Impressed that he tamed the beast in just 1 month, the boss decides to fly up and test his strength. She then charges at high speed toward the dragon, ready to test the new king's skills. The guy's friends are confused and wonder why the leader is suddenly attacking him. The zombie doesn't know why, but he says that after a month of training he'll see if he can defend himself. The woman then attacks with her heavy, petrifying cannon fist aimed at the rookie. The guy manages to block the attack, and the leader is impressed that he withstood the direct hit. She says it was good, but that he still can't hit her, and kicks him far away with a powerful blow. The impact of the attack causes a huge explosion where the protagonist was thrown. The girl doesn't waste any time and attacks the zombie leader with her claws to protect her friend. The protagonist recovers from the blow and lands hard, creating spikes on the ground. Suddenly, the scene changes to a fight between 2 mutant tigers, one of lightning and one of ice. The energy from the 2 monsters' blows was so strong it cracked the cave floor. The battle between the beasts continues, with both attacking each other non-stop with full force. Completely confused, the creatures wonder why they are fighting each other. Hiding, the zombie smirks and says the stew was almost ready, it just needed the meat. And with that, the fight between the tigers continues inside a lava pit created by the Yahello. The system then announces that he has earned 10,000 gold and the crown of the Tiger King as a reward. Now the guy has 28,000 gold, and his ability has gained 3 new attributes. With the end of the training, a month passes, and the survival period in the forest is over. On a giant tree, the zombies wait to see if any of the young ones manage to survive. The silver-haired one gets worried and thinks that in the end, no one made it back alive. The leader says she had high hopes for the 2 newcomers, but it seems she was dead wrong. For a second, the boss thinks she saw the girl's shadow but believes it's just her imagination. Suddenly, the one who was sleeping wakes up and senses a presence coming from deep within the dark forest. She wonders if the presence is a zombie, but finds it hard to believe anyone could have such a strong aura. The zombie gets scared as she feels the presence of a herd of beasts heading her way. With a terrified look, she realizes the presence is so strong it's paralyzing her with fear. The energy is so immense that she gets overwhelmed, and her powers manifest on their own. The zombie leader notices her companion's nervousness and wonders what could be so frightening. She knows her friend has keen senses and is usually very calm in any situation. One of the zombies then screams and points to a strange movement coming from the middle of the dark forest. A trail of light cuts through the sky, rapidly approaching where they are standing. Suddenly, a herd of giant beasts led by a thorn dragon emerges from the forest. The muscular zombie recognizes the monster and wonders why the Thorn King is leading an attack. But the zombie leader smiles and explains that they are just escorting their new king back home. On top of the dragon are the protagonist, the girl, and Baba, leaving the other zombies speechless. The guy, now with a new look and dragon parts, faces everyone with a very confident gaze. The leader then comments that she thought the zombie was just a rookie, but he surprised everyone there. She gets excited about the group's potential and says she's looking forward to seeing what the new leader can do. Impressed that he tamed the beast in just 1 month, the boss decides to fly up and test his strength. She then charges at high speed toward the dragon, ready to test the new king's skills. The guy's friends are confused and wonder why the leader is suddenly attacking him. The zombie doesn't know why, but he says that after a month of training, he'll see if he can defend himself. The woman then attacks with her heavy, petrifying cannon fist aimed at the rookie. The guy manages to block the attack, and the leader is impressed that he withstood the direct hit. She says it was good, but that he still can't hit her, and kicks him far away with a powerful blow. The impact of the attack causes a huge explosion where the protagonist was thrown. The girl doesn't waste any time and attacks the zombie leader with her claws to protect her friend. The leader compliments the girl, saying she is stronger and faster than the last guy who faced her. With a furious look, the girl shouts that the leader hurt her companions and that is unforgivable. She then attacks with several dragon-shaped tentacles, going all out against the boss. But the leader easily defends herself, enveloping her body in a sphere of energy for protection. The smoke clears and the girl realizes she's on top of the zombie, who is transformed into a ball of spikes. The girl is confused and doesn't understand what just happened to her friend. Suddenly, the zombie undoes the spike ball, revealing a new, much more terrifying form. The zombie leader also transforms and says it's a shame he had to interrupt the fun. She then uses a hypnotic sound wave and says the girl has zero combat tactics. The boss says that one day the girl will be strong, but for now, she just needs to take a little nap. The protagonist stands up with his new dragon body and faces the leader with a look of anger. The woman holds the unconscious girl and asks if the zombie had been waiting for her for a long time. She then tells him not to worry, as she only calmed the girl down and didn't go too hard on her. Now, with no one to interrupt, the boss says the guy can finally fight with everything he's got. The protagonist prepares for battle, and the leader tells him not to hold anything back and to use his full power. She asks if they should change locations, and the zombie agrees, flying away with her. The two move so fast that the others can barely keep up with the speed of the fight. The battle between them is intense, filled with powerful blows that echo throughout the forest. The combat continues on top of a giant tree, with the two trading blows non-stop. The leader then smiles and says the warm-up is finally over and the real fight is about to begin. The leader says she's going to start fighting for real now, and a sinister aura surrounds her. Her body is covered in energy as she prepares to attack with her full power. The woman then uses the power of the night and launches a devastating attack against the protagonist. A massive explosion occurs and a creature resembling a dragon emerges from the smoke. The boss thinks the guy has potential but needs a beatdown to learn how to listen. But the zombie stops the attack with a single finger and says that she's got it all wrong about him. He then throws her far away and yells that he's not there to be protected by anyone. The leader falls to the ground, unable to believe what just happened to her attack. The guy approaches with a serious look and tells her to listen very carefully. His silhouette is shrouded in a powerful energy, and his hair stands on end. He yells that he's there to lead, not to support, and unleashes the full power of the dragon. Then the zombie transforms, revealing his new Thorn Dragon King armor. He says this is the result of a month of hard work and prepares his next move. With a dragon's roar, the guy launches a spiral attack at the leader. The woman gets caught in the attack and recognizes the power of the Thorn Dragon in his move. The leader is shocked that he also has the dragon's power and is swallowed by the attack. Defeated, the boss can't believe she just lost the battle to a mere rookie. The zombie says she didn't lose unfairly and that one day she'll be terrifyingly strong. But for now, he says the woman will just be one of his commanders in the group. She gets angry and yells that she only lost because she let her guard down for a second. The guy smirks and reveals that he only used 1/10 of his strength and that her energy is running out. The leader is completely shocked by the young man's revelation and doesn't know what to say. Her form disappears and she shrinks into a tiny version of herself, asking how he discovered her secret. The screen shows that the zombie has 350,000 gold and new dragon abilities. The protagonist picks up the boss and says she doesn't need to know anything, while she wonders just what he is. In a flashback, a woman asks the leader to take care of everyone and lead them to survive. The little girl doesn't want the other woman to leave and says she can't do it alone. The woman explains she has something important to do and that the girl needs to believe in herself. The leader thinks to herself that, not wanting to let her down, she'd led the horde for years, always on the run from the humans. But she admits the guy is stronger, and with him in charge, the zombies can finally fight back. The leader, now in her small form, asks the guy to lead them from now on. The system congratulates him for defeating the leader and names him the new lord of the zombie horde. He accepts the responsibility and says that from this day forward, he will lead them all to survive. The girl then asks why he challenged the dragon and how he managed to defeat the beast. The zombie gets irritated, thinking it's all the system's fault for setting him up again. He remembers that after beating the tiger family, he gained status and more mystery boxes. At that moment, he had 28,000 gold and several attributes on his ability. Then the system gave him a secret mission to defeat the dragon beast within 1 day. The guy is furious with the impossible mission and yells that the system just wants to see him gone. To beat the beast, he opened all 6 boxes at once and pulled 6 clone cards. With the cards, he created an army of clones with 80% of his total power. He and his clones surrounded the dragon, and the protagonist admits he wouldn't have stood a chance alone. But now, with his increased strength, he had a total of 7 copies to fight the monster. With perfect teamwork, the clones attacked the giant dragon relentlessly. As the dragon was being attacked, the other beasts joined in to end the fight as quickly as possible. The protagonist explains that just as they were about to land the final blow, the clones vanished because their time was up. But Alibaba shows up out of nowhere, yelling for the boss to use him as a weapon for the attack. The guy is surprised. His friend showed up right in the nick of time and had gotten much stronger in just a day. The zombie then uses his friend's body like a hammer and throws him with full force at the dragon. With a powerful strike, he hits the beast's head and finally manages to defeat it. After the battle, the two friends stand beside the now defeated giant dragon. The system congratulates him on the victory and awards him 70,000 gold and 2 new abilities. He says the dragon is still the king but needs help to defeat the new humans. The zombie lies to the tiny leader, saying that he and the dragon became buddies after beating the heck out of each other. Meanwhile, somewhere else, a giant zombie is peacefully feeding a little blue bird. Suddenly, a group of human women attacks and one of them pins the giant zombie to the ground. Another shoots the big guy and the little bird flies off, chirping for help against the new humans. The warriors continue their assault, taking out several zombies with their energy weapons. Their leader tells them not to let their guard down, as their mission is to eliminate an infiltrated agent. Out of nowhere, 2 giant hands appear and snatch 2 of the humans with ease. A giant skeletal zombie appears, and one of the humans is terrified by his size. The giant then mercilessly devours a smaller zombie he was holding in his hand. He complains he's still hungry and grabs one of the warriors for a snack. The woman manages to break free and kicks the monster in the face, but it has no effect. She realizes their tech weapons are useless and only tickle the giant zombie. The warrior then decides to use her new power and awakens her special ability right there. With an energy aura, she charges at the giant monster to try and stop it. The soldier uses the Gale Step Mirage, creating multiple copies to confuse the enemy. She then appears behind the zombie, but he simply vanishes before her eyes. Meanwhile, the pregnant player who was captured asks who's approaching. The leader of the humans appears and the prisoner begs for help to escape. The soldier apologizes and says her orders are to take her out for carrying a zombie baby. She then points her weapon at the pregnant woman, ready to carry out her mission. Suddenly, a claw appears and slices off the warrior's arm before she can fire. The woman's hand is severed and falls to the ground along with the weapon she was holding. The soldier screams in pain from her severed arm, completely stunned by the surprise attack. Riding a mutant porcupine, Alibaba says this is the perfect time to test his skills. He charges forward and starts fighting the warrior, who struggles to defend against his rapid attacks. The woman is surprised by the zombie's intelligence but says her skills will crush him. Alibaba punches her in the stomach, sending her flying with the force of the impact. He says he can miss 100 times, but she can't make a single mistake in this battle. The mutant porcupine then appears and bites the soldier's neck with its sharp teeth. The other zombies show up and the monster says the hostage is the reason for so many losses. But the protagonist arrives and tells his friend to leave the woman to him and gather the other mutants. The prisoner is released from her chains and collapses on the ground, exhausted and too weak to fight. She asks the zombie to end her suffering, but he refuses to do it. The guy explains that he's not going to take her out because she's a player and can just revive. The woman is shocked and asks how he, a mutant, knows about players. He tells her she has no idea what the game world has turned into, leaving her confused. The prisoner then reveals that to perish in this world means to perish in real life, with no coming back. The protagonist wonders why he's the only one who became a zombie and questions the woman about her pregnancy. With tears in her eyes, the player explains that it's all the fault of a guy who deceived her. She says she was a bioengineering student but just couldn't seem to graduate. Her research wasn't yielding any results, and she was stuck in a cycle of constant failure. Bored at home, she decided to play a game with other players to pass the time. There, she met a player named Thunderfire, and the two became a couple in the game. One day, her boyfriend sent her an invitation to the immersive version, and she accepted without a second thought. The game's realism was incredible, and the two ended up becoming a couple in real life as well. The guy then recommended that she help the Alliance develop a biological evolution serum. The game's technology was more advanced, and her research finally started to bear fruit. But she discovered her boyfriend was cheating on her, and to make matters worse, she was already pregnant with his child. To get rid of her, the guy set up an ambush and the player fell into a mutant trap. He wanted to use her, but she was blinded by love, and to cover it all up, he sent other players to eliminate her. Devastated, the woman thinks that maybe the best solution for her is to just give up on everything. The protagonist says that if she gives up, the culprit won't feel any remorse and offers her a chance at revenge. The player is surprised by the offer, and the protagonist asks if she chooses revenge or the end. The scene shifts to the central tree of the Thorn Forest, the new home of the zombies. The guy explains that their old nest was exposed, and now they need a new safe place. In front of a portal, the zombie says they are going to turn the city into their fortress. He then declares himself the new leader, and all the zombies celebrate his rise to power. The protagonist tells the tiny leader to organize everyone and start repairing the facilities. Suddenly, a giant dog appears and pounces on the zombie girl to play. The dog starts licking her face, and the young woman is completely freaked out by the situation. The zombie calls the dog and asks if it completed the task he gave it before he left. The giant dog smiles and barks happily at the question from its new owner and friend. The dog then releases several bubbles with zombie dogs inside for patrol duty. The guy praises the dog for gathering over 100 zombie dogs and says their security is guaranteed. After a month of hard work, the protagonist can finally get some rest, but the system informs him that the city needs energy cores that only cyborgs can collect. And so the system gives him a new mission: find and activate all the hidden cyborgs. The protagonist gets furious with the system, complaining that he never heard of cyborgs in the game. The system explains that the official data is limited, but a new body is already being created. He just needs to invite a player to connect and activate the character for the mission. The guy wonders who he can invite, since he already used the best sucker he knew. Suddenly, the zombie girl appears, and the zombie gets mad at her for not resting. She then says she's hungry, and the protagonist is left speechless by the sudden request. The young woman asks for food, and he's surprised that she broke her silence just for that. The guy freaks out over the situation and can't believe what just happened. The girl keeps asking for food, and the zombie is completely shocked by her audacity. He then asks how she knows his name and wonders how she discovered his identity. She points at him, and a screen appears with the guy's name and class. The protagonist is shocked to realize that she can see his name like in a game. The system explains that invited players join the party and can see the host's name. The guy gets furious and yells at the system for not telling him about this detail sooner. He understands that he can only invite people he trusts to avoid revealing his real identity. The protagonist thinks his online friends are the safest choice for this difficult mission. He asks the girl who he should invite, but she's more interested in eating her snack. She then asks for more meat, and he realizes that talking to her right now is pointless. The zombie thinks the cyborg seems to be high-tech, and asking the girl is too much. He remembers that his friend Susu's company invests heavily in robotics, and she is the heir. After taking over, she focused on creating fully functional bionic robots with AI. But she's stuck on a technical problem, and the company is in serious trouble. The guy thinks inviting Susu could be a great idea and help them both out. In her room, the guy's friend wakes up and wonders why the game notified her. She realizes she hasn't played in a while because she's been busy with the company and its problems. The woman stretches and says she misses playing with her friend like in the old days. She then reminisces about the good times and logs into the game to see what's going on. The zombie's friend opens the message and sees it's an invitation from her friend to the game. She is shocked by the message and can't believe what she just read. The invitation says that he is in trouble and that she will unlock the secret cyborg class. The guy's friend is surprised by the message and can't believe what she just read. She thinks that only her friend calls her that and gets worried that he might really be in trouble. Without a second thought, she accepts the invitation to enter the game and help her companion. A bright light envelops her, and she is transported into the world of the immersive game. The cyborg opens her eyes and finds herself in a brand new, powerful robotic body. The system announces that the connection was successful, and she begins to get used to the body. The woman is impressed by the world's realism and wonders if this is even a game. She realizes that the technology of this body is far more advanced than anything she's ever seen. The protagonist greets her and welcomes her to the team for their new mission. The cyborg is startled by the guy's appearance and screams that he is a zombie. She notices that he speaks and calls her by her nickname and wonders if he's become a zombie. The guy gets embarrassed and says she's not exactly wrong about him being a mutant. The friend doesn't believe it, says mutants are evil, and readies her energy cannons. She then threatens to blow everyone up if he doesn't give her friend back. The zombie then defends himself from the cyborg's attack, and a huge explosion occurs. The cyborg is impressed by the zombie's strength and decides to fight with everything she has. The zombie girl appears and holds the friend back, preventing her from attacking the guy. Her tentacles restrain the cyborg, completely immobilizing her during the confusion. She then explains the situation and tells her friend to focus on the guy's head to see the truth. The cyborg does as she asked and finally understands that the guy is indeed her friend. After the explanation, the guy's friend calms down and accepts the reality of the situation. With everything synced up, she understands the mission's objective and accesses the cyborg's memories. The cyborg then leads them to a hidden elevator in the City of Hope. They discover that the energy cores and the cyborgs are in the city's underground. The elevator descends and the temperature rises rapidly, putting everyone on high alert. The protagonist pulls the cyborg close and the zombie girl protects herself with her tentacles. The group shields themselves from the intense heat, and the zombie creates an ice ball for shelter. Inside the shelter, the guy notices the temperature is getting even hotter. The elevator finally stops, and the group exits the shelter, ready to begin the mission. Suddenly, blue energy starts leaking from one of the walls of the dark corridor. Suddenly, water starts gushing out, and the group finds themselves submerged in a mysterious place. The protagonist asks the cyborg to lead the way, and she accepts the responsibility. They swim and find a submerged city being guarded by mutant mermaids. The guy is surprised by the creatures and wonders if they are in the right place. He recognizes the mermaids and remembers they were only mentioned in the game's lore. The zombie can't believe the mermaids are real and is impressed by their appearance. Suddenly, one of the creatures transforms and attacks the group with its sharp claws. The mermaid charges at the protagonist, ready to attack with a thirst for battle. The guy thinks that if it weren't for the guide, he would have mistaken them for beautiful women. He realizes they aren't strong, but their numbers are a huge problem. The zombie and the cyborg prepare for the fight and attack the mermaids with everything they've got. The cyborg shows off her combat skills, defeating several mermaids with ease. The zombie girl also joins the fray, fighting with ferocity and power against the creatures. Suddenly, the mermaids stop attacking and seem frightened by something approaching. The protagonist detects a giant creature and tells everyone to take cover from the new enemy. A mutant megalodon appears, and the group is shocked by the presence of the legendary beast. Suddenly, the giant shark is attacked by red tentacles and pulled into the depths. The group watches as the megalodon is dragged away by an even larger and more terrifying creature. A giant octopus emerges, and the guy realizes the shark was nothing compared to that monster. The octopus then sucks in everything around it, and the group is swallowed by the giant creature. The girl wakes up and asks where they are and what happened to them. The protagonist explains that they are inside the octopus and have finally reached their destination. There they find the ghost ruins, the energy core, and the army of cyborgs. The cyborg wonders how the ruins ended up inside the giant octopus, and the guy theorizes. He thinks the humans tried to seal the place, but the octopus swallowed everything by accident. The guy's friend asks if that's why the coordinates changed to the bottom of the sea. The zombie steps on something strange and wonders what that disgusting thing on the floor is. He looks down and sees several bodies of deactivated female cyborgs scattered around. The cyborg explains that they consume a lot of energy and go dormant after their power runs out. The group then notices that the cyborgs are looking at them and they brace for whatever comes next. The protagonist asks the cyborg which way to go, but the place looks different. She says the layout has changed and wonders if the place has also mutated. The guy thinks it's not surprising since the city is now part of the octopus's body. To find the core faster, they decide to split up and search in different areas. The zombie warns them to come back and ask for help if they encounter any danger. He jumps into a dark corridor and wonders if these are really the legendary ruins. Suddenly, he is attacked and dodges an ambush from an unknown creature. A zombie cyborg attacks him, and he wonders how a zombie managed to get there. The cyborg says he's going to feed the zombie to his octopus and prepares to attack. The system gives the reward for the mission and a new task to recover the cyborg leader. The screen shows the zombie's new abilities, and he has 370,000 gold. He gets ready to fight and says this is the perfect chance to test his new ability. Meanwhile, the zombie girl falls into the water again and is confused by the situation. She then notices several red eyes watching her in the darkness of the water. A school of mutant sharks appears and surrounds the girl, ready to attack. The girl is surrounded by mutant sharks and seems to be in trouble again. But without warning, she simply wipes out all the sharks in one go. The young woman sees the fish as a gift and starts eating them all to regain her energy. One of the sharks manages to escape and flees in terror at the scene it just witnessed. But the shark boss appears and is furious with its subordinates' cowardice. The girl continues eating, unbothered by the presence of the new giant monster. The giant creature then becomes enraged and charges at her with everything it has. With a sinister smile, she seems ready for an unexpected new feast. Meanwhile, the cyborg continues her search for the energy core in the dark corridor. She notices the signal is getting stronger and that she's close to the control room. Suddenly, the guy's friend steps on something and activates a hidden trap on the floor. A laser grid appears out of nowhere, completely blocking her path. The woman is surprised by the trap but doesn't seem afraid of the challenge ahead. She then uses the cyborg body's ability and disassembles her body into several parts. This way, the cyborg manages to pass through the laser grid without taking any damage. After getting past the trap, the cyborg reassembles her body and is ready to continue. She is impressed with the technology and thinks about what she could do with it in her own project. The woman then decides to focus on the mission and activates a panel on the corridor wall. The door opens, and she finds the control room with several cyborgs in capsules. The guy's friend approaches a panel and prepares to activate the entire army. With a voice command, she orders the cyborg army to awaken and prepare for battle. The capsules open, and the cyborgs begin to awaken from their deep slumber. Suddenly, a giant hand shatters one of the capsules and a massive cyborg appears. The giant robot detects intruders and enters attack mode, ready for combat. The cyborg is confused and wonders why the troops are attacking their allies. The big guy then readies his cannons and yells that the order is to eliminate all invaders. She realizes the cyborg is acting like a broken record and that something is wrong. The robot attacks and the woman creates an energy shield to protect herself from the blast. The cyborg scans the enemy and discovers its energy level is at 200%. The giant robot then activates annihilation mode and prepares for the next attack. The cyborg activates the super AI Chien to predict the giant enemy's movements. She decides to take out his weapon first and attacks him with a powerful kick to the arm. Then she immobilizes him with her robotic hair, completely pinning him to the ground. The giant robot keeps repeating the same phrase and tries to break free without success. The woman then steps on top of him and says she's going to reset his system to fix him. She rips off the cyborg's head and discovers it had a force command implanted. With the head in her hands, she prepares to reinstall everything and reboot the system. The guy's friend says she just needs to do this to solve the problem once and for all. The big cyborg wakes up confused and wonders why he's out of his stasis pod. The cyborg explains what happened and asks if he can tell her what went down there. He recognizes her as a prototype unit and she doesn't understand what he means. The robot then says it's a long story and begins to tell everything from the beginning. He reveals that a certain doctor was the greatest scientist in robotics and created the cyborgs. To help humanity, he used his cyborgs to transport dangerous nuclear energy. Over time, the cyborgs became more capable and were assigned to defend the citadel. But a rebellion broke out and the entire cyborg legion was exiled from the city. The most advanced technology was in the prototype unit, which was the main test subject. All new technologies were tested on the unit, which had the most modern systems. But after the rebellion, the prototype unit disappeared and wasn't exiled with the others. The extermination program was likely the Guardian protocol implanted by the doctor. The robot doesn't understand why their creator exiled them and still implanted a program in them. The cyborg says they'll have to ask him in person, and the robot is confused. Suddenly, other cyborgs appear and shout that they will eliminate all intruders. The giant robot realizes he wasn't the only one with the Guardian protocol implanted in him. He then attacks the other cyborgs to protect the cyborg, and the fight begins. The big guy fights the other robots while they continue to repeat the same order. A female cyborg appears and the guy's friend recognizes her as one of the Titans. The new cyborg says she came specifically to find the prototype unit. The cyborg is surprised and wonders why the other one came looking for her there. The Titan explains that her presence activated the system and woke her from her slumber. The Titan says she is there to follow the leader, and the cyborg is surprised by the answer. The guy's friend then says she needs her help for something important right now. Meanwhile, the protagonist fights the zombie cyborg, attacking him with his armor, but the zombie defends himself, and the guy feels his attack being nullified by something strange. The guy is confused and wonders why the enemy's tentacle is so soft. The zombie then reveals its true form, and the zombie realizes his attack was nullified. He complains that he's covered in disgusting slime after the monster's attack. Elsewhere, the zombie girl is eating the giant shark she defeated earlier. After eating, she lets out a satisfied burp and prepares to continue her exploration. She thinks it's time to regroup with her friend and the others and starts swimming. The young woman swims through an area full of marine plants and wonders where she is. She realizes she's in the nest of the mutant piranhas and that what she ate wasn't the king. Suddenly, she senses a presence and becomes alert to what's approaching. A giant piranha emerges from the darkness and charges at her with its sharp teeth. The girl finally faces the true piranha king and prepares for battle. The protagonist uses an electric attack, but the zombie cyborg seems to feel nothing. The enemy says the electric current is strange, but the sensation feels pretty good. The guy is surprised and wonders if the zombie can absorb electricity. The cyborg explains that he has electric eel genes and the attacks only make him stronger. The zombie then changes tactics and says he's going to roast the enemy alive with his firepower. He launches a giant blast of fire, but the cyborg seems unfazed by the attack. The zombie simply absorbs the flames, and the protagonist is shocked by the scene. The guy can't believe what he's seeing and thinks the enemy's ability is completely insane. The cyborg explains that he has Pompeii worm genes and is immune to high temperatures. He then wonders how such a small zombie can have so much power and intelligence. The zombie says he won't hurt the guy if he's not a threat and will let him go. The protagonist replies that he's just a regular zombie, but he's not leaving without the energy core. The enemy says he won't hand over the core and prepares for the next phase of the fight. The guy smirks and says the decision isn't his to make and that he's going to test his new ability. He then uses the internal force combo and launches a series of powerful blows at the zombie. The protagonist stands still as the zombie cyborg shows no reaction to the strike. Suddenly, the enemy screams in pain as several spheres of energy explode on his body. The cyborg doesn't understand why his octopus cells aren't absorbing the damage. The ability transfers the damage from a distance and explodes with even greater force inside the body. The enemy wonders how such a small zombie can have so many strange tricks. Seeing that the attack worked, the zombie decides to use a final blow to end the fight. But suddenly a golden chain appears out of nowhere and manages to stop his attack. The chain wraps around the energy sphere, preventing the blow from hitting its target. The cyborg appears holding the chain and yells for her friend not to finish off the enemy. The cyborg is then shocked and says it can't be because he is a first-generation cyborg. The friend doesn't understand, and the protagonist asks the doctor to explain what happened. The doctor then begins to tell the story, starting from the rebellion in the City of Hope. One of the human leaders says he will exile all the cyborgs, and the doctor is furious. In reality, humanity not only wanted the technology but was also afraid of the cyborg's power. The leader then blackmails the doctor using the cure for his zombie daughter as leverage. With no other choice, the poor doctor ends up agreeing, making the worst decision of his life.